Scheduler will give you additional power and flexibility when it comes to meeting your more complex scheduling needs. Schedules can be based on organizational policies, number of employees needed based on workload, planned and unplanned absences, etc. The key benefits of using Scheduler are that you can control labor costs by making informed scheduling decisions. You can improve workforce productivity by aligning staff coverage to fluctuating business demand. You can minimize compliance risk by automatically enforcing scheduling policies, labor laws, and union rules. You can drive continuous improvement by measuring scheduling effectiveness, and you can simplify schedule creation and management so managers can focus on strategic priorities. Today, we will take a look at how you can create and maintain schedules across departments. We will talk about how you can cover open shifts, handle shift changes, reduce overtime using scheduling constraints, and budget properly using our pay estimation tool. That being said, let's take a look at how we can set up and manage a schedule. Here on the dashboard, you can see that we have a Start widget set up, which will help the company administrator manage different tasks, such as developing and maintaining a schedule. Here we can manage schedule preferences, view and edit the planner, add shift types, etc. We're going to focus primarily on the planner today. Here we have a screen that is showing us all of the schedules that have been created for this company. You can set up separate schedules across different departments. However, in my example, we are just looking at one schedule across the entire company. From this screen, you will notice that there are a couple of different icons here on the left-hand side of this report. We can use these icons to take a look at different views of the schedule. We can view this by employee, by cost center, and I can also take a look at the daily view of this schedule. We will take a look at these different views in just a moment. The next icon that I would like to show you is the planner settings screen. Here we have the ability to see all of the dates for this planner. In this case, we're looking at a weekly schedule, but you can define the cycle length in the planner configuration settings. You can also determine when that day starts, at midnight, same day, or previous day. We can also assign the manager responsible for managing this schedule. In other words, the manager who can assign shifts, make edits, etc. You also want to assign the employees who are going to be displayed within this schedule. Now these settings are initially set up in your master planner configuration settings and will carry over to each planner, but as you can see, you do have the ability to override these settings for each weekly schedule. The last two icons will allow you to delete the planner or clone the schedule planner. Cloning the planner will create an exact copy of the schedule from the previous week, so it gives you a jumping off point that you can tweak as needed. Now you also have the ability to add a new planner from scratch. This will pull up a blank schedule with a list of all of the open shifts that need to be assigned. Let's take a look at an example of a planner that's already been started. We are taking a look at the schedule planner by employee view, and this is where we will spend the majority of our time today. Before we get to work on this planner, I want to quickly show you the other views that we have available. First, we will take a look at the view by cost center. This is a view of the schedule broken down by cost center, and this report can be beneficial to ensure that there aren't any gaps in coverage within any given cost center. We can also get a breakout of the schedule by day. You can print a copy of this schedule and post it for the employees if needed. Now let's jump back to our view by employee. This is an example of a planner that is in the process of being completed. Remember that when you add a new schedule from scratch, it will create a blank schedule which you can assign all open shifts on a blank canvas. You can view this as a full screen version, which will just allow you to have more real estate as you're reviewing the schedule. Let's focus on Monday's schedule. If you scroll to the bottom of this screen, you will notice that you can view a coverage graph. This graph will identify how many shifts were available versus how many were filled. The blue indicates how many shifts were available, and the red indicates how many open shifts are still outstanding. If you hover over the graph, it will show you the number of shifts that is represented. Back at the top of the schedule, any open shifts will be displayed. To assign a shift, you can do a number of things. You can drag and drop the appropriate shift to assign it to the employee. You can also click on the schedule for that employee, and then you will be able to select from a list of the open shifts. Now you can see that stalker position has been assigned to Paul. Another way to add a shift is to actually click on the open shift itself, and then you can assign the employee from here. Let's assign this cashier shift to Ashley. Now we have assigned all of the open shifts on Monday. But if you wanted to create a new shift, you can do so just by clicking in this window, and it will prompt you to add a shift on the fly. And then once you create a new shift, you can assign it to the appropriate person. Now let's talk about how we can go about editing a shift. Let's use Andrew Pfizer as our example here. When we click on any shift, as you can see, you have the ability to delete the shift. You can unassign the employee from the shift. You can add a note. You can edit the shift as well as copy this shift using the copy-paste functionality. Let's say that Andrew is going to work half the day as a bagger and the other half of his day working as a cashier. So we would simply click on the Edit Shift button, and this is where you can change when the employee is scheduled for the shift. You can change the cost center that they're working in, and this is also where you can split shifts. As you can see, you will simply put a new time in here and you would be able to select the appropriate cost center. Now you can see that his shift has been split here on the planner. You can also set up work time preferences for employees, which can be set to create automatic shifts based on their work time preferences, or you can just use those as a guideline. In this case, I'm using the work time preferences as a reference while I'm scheduling my employees. The employees' preferences are indicated on the schedule with a dotted box. You also have the ability to swap schedules based on work time preferences, or if an employee simply needs to make a change. In this case, it looks like Kyle and Maria are not scheduled based on their work time preferences. So to do a shift swap, you can use the Control key and select each one of these shifts. And then by right mouse clicking, we have the ability to do a shift swap. Now you can see we have actually swapped these two shifts so that it meets their work time preference needs. Now that I've shown you how you will be able to set up and manage shifts, I want to move on and talk about the different rules or constraints that you can set up for the schedule. You can set up rules so that you get flagged when an employee works over a certain number of hours per week. For example, when an employee's schedule reaches 40 hours, there can be a flag which will help reduce overtime costs. You can also set constraints to flag when somebody is scheduled to work over a certain number of hours per day, or if they are scheduled more than a certain number of consecutive days based on your company policies. A constraint can also be set up when you schedule someone on their scheduled day off or their preferred day off, and you can also require a certain skill set to be eligible for specific shift types, and you can set a constraint to flag if an employee is not qualified to work in that specific shift. You will notice that we have a violations column here, and this is where you can easily identify if there are any scheduling constraints that you need to review before you move forward with posting the schedule. So let's take a look at an example of a constraint that we have flagged here, because in this case we have an employee who is scheduled to work on their preferred day off. A constraint violation looks a little different than a normal shift. It is represented by a thinner red line. If you click on this red constraint, you will notice that you can edit the shift just as you would with any other shift. Here you have the option to override that constraint if this employee should still be required to work this shift despite it being their preferred day off. Also, you have the ability to assign another employee to accommodate this employee's preferred work time. So in this case, let's go ahead and assign a new employee. And I'm going to assign Shirley. And I will save this shift. Once you have filled all of the open shifts and reviewed any scheduling constraints, then you have the ability to do some additional functionality. Up here under the utilities, you can see we have the ability to create a snapshot of the schedule in its current view. Creating a snapshot is just saving the schedule. This way it's saved for you to review later. We also have an audit trail to see any changes that were made to the schedule. You will be able to determine who made the change, when the change was made, the old value versus the new value, and which IP address the change was made from. You also have the ability to leave notes against the schedule. And we also have a pay estimation tool that is available. So this feature is available when you're using the scheduling component in conjunction with time and labor management. Let's take a look at how this will work. I'm going to select all of my employees and I'm going to use the estimation tool. This tool will actually run the employees through the pay calculation profile based on their scheduled time to determine the estimated pay for that week. During your planner setup, you can identify a maximum budgeted amount for the planner, and you can also set up a constraint to flag when you exceed that budgeted amount. Once the schedule is ready to be posted, you can click on the Post Schedule button. If a change needs to be made after a schedule has been posted, the Schedule Manager can unpost to make any updates. So what happens after it's posted? Well, the schedule will go through a workflow process that will ultimately update the schedules for the employees to view within their employee self-service portal. An email notification can also go out to users to alert them that their schedule is ready to be reviewed. We also have an option to allow employees to review the schedule before it gets posted so that they can add or remove shifts. To do this, the planner must be in add-drop mode. A good example of this is if perhaps a manager is creating a schedule 2 weeks in advance. The manager would then be able to open the planner up for review for a set period of time. During that period of time, the employees can add or remove shifts as needed. Once the manager is ready to post the schedule, they would simply take it out of add-drop mode before they post that final schedule. That being said, let's take a quick look. Let's log into the system as our employee Ashley. Ashley is a user who would like to review her schedule. When she logs in, she can access her schedule in add-drop mode by coming here to the My Account menu option and selecting My Profile. She can review any of her planners here under the Account Schedule Planners window. All of the shifts with a check mark are the shifts that she has been assigned to. The other shifts that she can see are the open shifts that she can pick up. This is showing her which shifts and times are available, and it will also identify any violations. For example, if you have a rule set up stating that she cannot work for more than a certain number of hours in a week, and she adds a shift to put her in over that threshold, then she will show up on the planner with a violation, and it's up to the manager to determine how to process it. Under the Work Time Preferences window, an employee would be able to review or edit their work time preferences. This speaks directly to the planner to alert the planner manager when an employee prefers to work and when they prefer to be scheduled off. Remember, you can also set up constraints around these work time preferences as well. Once a schedule gets posted, an employee also has the ability to view their schedule within their employee self-service portal. Here, an employee can see when they are scheduled to work. And with that, we have completed our demo. I hope that you will leave here today with a better understanding of how you can use this tool to cover open shifts, handle shift changes, reduce overtime using scheduling constraints, and budget more efficiently using our pay estimation tool. Thank you for your time, and please contact us today for more information.